Well, this is the time. Is this working on? Do you hear me now? How are we doing? There, I can hear now. There we go. So this is the time I read two poems. These two poems are both very short, but they reflect perhaps two different views of the insect world. One somewhat questioning, the other with some level of awe. The first one is by Ogden Nash, and it's called The Fly. God in his wisdom made the fly and then forgot to tell us why. The other is by Elizabeth Roberts Maddox, or maybe Maddox Roberts. My sheet's over there. We'll have to wait. It's called The Firefly, a Song. A little light is going by, is going up to see the sky, is flying by with wings. I never could have thought of it to have a little bug all lit and made to go on wings. So the title of this program is Bugs, Our Lives Depend on Them. It could have been Bugs and Us. There's a very simple line, why we need them, why we are worried, and what we can do. And the word bugs is in quotations, and I'll explain that momentarily. Next, please. Before we get into the heart of the program, just some cool facts about bugs. There's over 1 million known species, but perhaps as many as 10 million on Earth. That means the overwhelming majority have yet to been discovered or identified. It's perhaps been estimated there's as many as 1.4 billion insects for every human being. We share the planet with a lot of creatures. Beetles make up 25% of all known animal species, about 400,000 beetles. Beetles are similar to bugs, a generic term we use to refer to all these little creepy crawlies, as some of us want to put it. But there's a big difference between beetles and bugs, and they are often confused. For instance, ladybugs are really lady beetles. June bugs are June beetles. Beetles have mouth parts with teeth-like projections, thank you, so they can chew on leaves and plants. Not bugs. They have a long proboscis, like a straw, and they suck. And so when I teach my students the difference between beetles and bugs, I say beetles chew and bugs suck. Only about 1/3 of all insect species are considered harmful, but about 1/3 face extinction. Next slide, please. So why are they important to us? Well, as I'm sure all of you know, they are key pollinators. About 80% of the plants on this planet are pollinated by insects, whether they be beetles, bugs, flies, bees, a big variety of them. There are several classes of insects. They contribute billions of dollars to our economy and to the world's economy. They are recyclers that cost nothing. They are there turning leaves and old plants and other garbage that we may throw out back into soil, into nutrients for the next generation of growing things on our planet. They are a food source. They're a food source for birds, for amphibians, for reptiles, for fish. They are also a food source for human beings. Some 2 billion people on this planet eat bugs as part of their diet. I tried grasshoppers once, and southern Mexico. I wasn't sure what I was eating at first because I didn't know the word, the Spanish word for grasshopper, until somebody started saying, insecta, insecta, insecta. The grasshoppers, they didn't taste that bad. They are pest controlled. Parasitic wasps kill off damaging flies and other insects that could harm your vegetable garden. Lady beetles are often used for pest control. Many communities buy dragonflies by the thousands from biological warehouses and release them because as larvae, dragonflies eat mosquito larvae. As adults, they eat mosquitoes in the air. And with them, you do not need to use pesticides. They are part of the biodiversity of our planet, which is very much intertwined. You can't begin to lose part of it without endangering the whole. Next slide, please. They are essential for a human diet. 1 out of every 3 bites of food perhaps come from as a result of pollinators. Without the basis of the food chain, the whole system could collapse. You may recall that Jenga game, those with the piles of wood that you build a structure and then you try and pull out one piece at a time without the whole thing collapsing. At some point, you pull out too many pieces and the structure comes down. Our planet's webbed system is very similar to that. Next slide, please. These are some of the foods that rely on pollinators in order for us to have them at our table. I know what you're all thinking. Thank goodness okra isn't among this list. How could we survive without okra? But sad to tell you, if you look at the next slide, it is there, along with many, many other foods that you might not have realized would not be possible to have at our grocery stores or on our tables without pollinators. Look at the one at the very bottom, cotton. The shirt that I wear, the clothes that many of us wear that we enjoy wearing could not be without insect pollinators. Also notice dairy products, because dairy cows rely for food and sustenance on plants that are pollinated by insects. Next, please. So, you all recall the days back when I'm judging now by looking at the color of your hair or the lack of it, that you were all alive during the days when you drove your car, you got insect splats on your windshield. You couldn't pull into a gas station without having to clean your windshield, or the service provider would run out, fill your tank for you back in those days, and clean your windshield. But nowadays, you can drive cross-country without anything on your windshield. When's the last time you had to clean a bug splatter? And compare that to the days where you couldn't drive anywhere, particularly anywhere of distance, without having to clean your windshield. What this artist is trying to show is how many pieces can we lose before we ourselves are in danger. Next slide, please. We've lost over 40% of insect life in the past 10 years. This information was posted in 2019, very recently. Look at the numbers for some of these prized insects: butterflies, beetles, bees, mayflies, dragonflies, all of them disappearing at alarming rates. Next slide, please. Why do we have these huge declines? Well, mostly you could describe it as loss of habitat for all kinds of reasons. Some of it because of urbanization, some of it because of climate change or mining or other human activities. Agriculture is probably the leading cause of habitat loss, not just because of turning the earth over, but because of all the chemicals that are used to wipe out the things that we decide are undesirable. That is tremendous damage we have done to our natural world. Next slide, please. GMO has created a special concern. If you look at those graphs at the top, those numbers are all double digits, showing the percentage of those crops that are now from genetically modified seeds. Cotton up in the 90%, sugar beets, soybeans in the 90%. Now, it's not the crop themselves that is a problem, not the food product. What the problem is, all these crops have been made to be Roundup ready. In other words, they are not harmed by the active ingredient in Roundup, glyphosate. So instead of trying to manually remove weeds from a crop, they can aerial spray or use large machines that spray huge areas. Now that misty poison does not stay put. It kills off all the surrounding plants too, including things like milkweed that our monarch butterflies require. They can overspray into fields and wipe out living plants. They can contaminate organic farms nearby. It can creep into the water system, and it kills insects. Next slide. So this has not been scientifically verified. The woman is saying, which is the genetically modified corn? Just a little humor from the New York Times that somehow seems appropriate. Next slide, please. Oh, we've skipped one. Bee mortality is of utmost concern because they are major pollinators. Honeybees, by the way, are not a native bee. They come from Europe. There are some 20,000 species of bees worldwide, some 4,000 in the US. Over 90% are solitary, meaning they're not colonial, and all of them are pollinators. About 20% are in danger of extinction. Why are they dying off? Climate change, pesticides, fungicides, herbicides, too much humidity, spreading of bee diseases. Our ecosystems have changed and are not hospitable to many of our bees, native or otherwise. Next slide, please. So what can we do about it? Well, one of the things you can do is, since I assume many of you have gardens with flowers and vegetables, is let your garden sleep over the fall and winter. Don't rake it up and pile it up and throw it away, because within those drying plants are many insects in their overwintering stages. So if you could just leave it there until the following spring, when we have steady temperatures of about 50 degrees, those insects will leave and repopulate the area. Leave your leaves. And if you don't mind them spread across your lawn, that's the best way to do it. If you feel a need to rake or remove, just put them to the edges of your yard gently with a blower or a rake and let them overwinter there. They provide shelter for many insects. You can use them to insulate garden beds or around fragile trees. And if you treat them gently, the bugs will survive. Next, please. The other thing you can do is cut back on all chemicals. Use organic fertilizers. Try to avoid the use of any pesticides and herbicides. Now, when controlling invasive species, sometimes it becomes necessary. But when you do use an herbicide, use it carefully, judiciously, so that we are not suffering collateral damage. Next, please. And one very important thing to do, especially as I hear you're planting a garden in the back, plant native. Native plants, trees, shrubs, flowers, they have evolved to coexist with our insect and animal world. There are very close relationships that do not exist with plants that you bring from overseas. Next, please. This you may find very fascinating. If you look at native oak trees, they play host to over 550 species of butterflies and moths. The non-native ginkgo plays host to 5. That pattern can be repeated with any of the native versus non-native trees. As you can see with cherry, plum, and maple, they play host to many, many species of butterflies and moths. Oaks are keystone, supporting over 2,300 other species, including birds, bats, and providing shelter for many threatened species. So, perhaps what is needed as much as anything, besides protecting what we have, is a change of attitude. Next slide, please. As shown here by Gary Larson in the far side, there's a frog there next to him. I don't know how easy it is for you to see, and the frog is saying, I beg your pardon, but you're not planning to just throw that fly away, are you? So God in his wisdom may not have explained to us why he made the fly, if that in fact he did, and didn't just evolve, as most of us would probably believe. But there does serve a purpose, whether we know it or not.